Have you ever wondered how to prep your novel before bringing it to an editor? Or maybe you'd love to find out how to write the gospel in a way that avoids cheesiness. Or maybe you're not even sure whether writing is something you're called to do or something you can even pursue as a career. If any of these things has perked your ears, you're in just the right place because I'm going to be covering all these topics and giving you a sneak peek of what we'll be covering in Season 3 of her Reading Life podcast. Hey friend, do you love the smell of books? Maybe you absolutely delight in the sound of a pen gliding across a page as you write. Hi, my name is Shira Rodriguez, and I am a Jesus follower, a writer, entrepreneur, and lover of all things boho and books. In this podcast, I want to take you on a journey of discovering yourself, discovering God and your passions, and how to make your life beautiful and so full that it overflows into the lives of others. And over here, we are not about compartmentalizing life. Oh no. Over here, we talk about holistically taking your life and presenting it as a place where others can be blessed just by knowing you. Are you excited? I am. So snag your favorite mug of tea or a pen and paper and let's jump in. Because you're listening to her Reading Life podcast. Hey friends, yes, I'm back. I feel as though it's been achingly long since I've been able to chat with you all and get behind the mic. You know, just as I was prepping for this episode, I realized how much I truly, truly love this. How much I love preparing these episodes and chatting behind a mic and feeling the wonder and amazement when I realize how incredible it is that God can take my words and my voice to places I could never go and to reach people in ways I can only imagine. It's such a gift and a privilege to be able to do this, and honestly, I'm grateful for every minute of it. I feel so blessed to do this, truly. And listeners, I have so much to tell you all. I don't really know where to start because, as most of you know, I took a short break from podcasting to prep for this new season. One, because I like to pre-record and prepare my episodes ahead of time so that I can kind of keep myself sane, as well as bring you the very best content possible. But secondly, because I knew I had so many ideas and people I wanted to invite for this season, and I knew it was going to be very challenging to coordinate everything if I didn't take a break. And side note, if you, friend, feel like you have been toppling yourself over with so much self-imposed work like me, I encourage you to take a break or plan regular breaks. They are absolutely essential for avoiding burnout and frustration and stress. I know that maybe I haven't gone as fast as I've wanted to go sometimes, but God knows just the right speed for you to go at. You're only going to end up like the hare in Aesop's fable who fell asleep because he pushed too hard. And please note, I am not advocating for going as slow as a tortoise because that is not what I'm saying at all. But do have patience with yourself and be kind to yourself. There is a beauty, I think, to keeping a slowness and gentle pace to your life, even if it means only doing what is your job and leaving the rest to God, instead of sitting in the backseat of life clamoring, are we there yet? How about now? Between gripping and shaking anything we can find around us. So, although I have been admittedly rather silent, I promise you I have been very, very busy prepping these episodes for you and planning the outlines. I also may or may not be releasing some writing resources soon, along with some of these episodes. As someone who struggled so much, especially during high school, to find a writing curriculum that would teach me how to write books that felt reminiscent of the classics I adored as a girl, and that would even take me by the hand and guide me through the writing process, teaching me how to shape my own writing style, support me along the way, that would teach me how to build a writing community and create my own platform and think like an entrepreneur. I thought that I could maybe help other young writers like me who were hungry to learn and grow their craft by leaps and bounds. So if this is something you'd be interested in, join my newsletter to get first dibs on these resources. The link is in the description below. I'll include it down there. Don't worry, I try to. Sometimes I do get a little bit distracted and I forget, but I will really try to get that. But worst case, if you can't, don't worry, I have all my links in my link in bio, which is bio.site/Shira J. Rodriguez, and that's where you can find my website and you can find my Instagram, and all my resources are placed on that very handy dandy little site, which I love so much, and I hope that you like it too. I've also been perfecting my own Instagram strategy, and I'll maybe share it with you in a future episode. Let me know if you'd be interested in hearing it. But honestly, I am so satisfied, I think, with it, because I used to get so overwhelmed by my perfectionism every time that I had to post on Instagram. I always wanted the perfect lighting, the perfect caption, the perfect music, the perfect transition. It was absolutely exhausting. And then I'd unhappily wait for people to comment. Or not. And then I'd feel bitter because not only had I put so much work in for nothing, but I also thought I deserved better. And then because of that, I'd delay posting, only to waltz back into that cycle every time I had to post. But what I've realized is that all that perfectionism was merely a shimmery facade for the fear that lay behind. What if I fail? What if I don't get views? What if nobody sees it? What if I fail? But here's the thing, the only sure way to fail is to never try. And often our terror of failing leaves us with nothing but that. Inevitable failure, charmingly paired like a cocktail with some chilled, icy terror. So, as I took on some new social media jobs and felt forced to post a story every day and create reels 3 times a week, I realized that I'd been sabotaging myself in my own work. I'd been overthinking my own feed and posts, terrified of what people would think if I dared to publish anything subpar to what I deemed to be my best work. Yet I was lying to myself because I was trying to be authentic, right? And authenticity is not about posting the perfect picture or the perfect caption. It's about making mistakes and owning it, knowing that those mistakes cannot, will not, and never can define you unless you allow them to. And what people think? Oh gee, that ought to be the least of our concerns, especially when we've never met them in person. I mean, can we please talk about the fact that most of these people that are on Instagram, we only see them through an app and we have never met them in person, and they usually live miles and miles away from us. So why should they define our worth? Why should they define what we think of ourselves? So yes, I have been learning quite a bit about myself and Instagram too in this little period of time, in addition to prepping things here and reading, as always. I have also been indulging in some glorious new books. I love reading new books, as many of you know, and especially if they feel classic in some way, shape, or form. And oh my goodness, I have found so many good books this year. So the first one up is Jane Eyre, and I read Jane Eyre for the first time, and I think it is one of the most wonderful books I have ever read, and it's a classic too, so this may be my favorite book of the year. Bronte's style is spectacular, lush and emotive, even rebellious, yet her protagonist is so noble. You can't help but love her strong character and womanliness. It felt like a far more modern book than it was, and that is saying something because I listened to the audiobook, which was 22 hours long, and I can't remember a single instance in which I was bored. She grips your attention with her arresting narration and voice. It's absolutely spectacular, and if you haven't read the book, please do. It's a brilliant and dramatic story, and I think no movie or play adaptation has quite done this wonderful novel justice. Another book that I read was The Enigma of Room 622, and oh my word, what a book. Oh my goodness, I just finished this one yesterday, and it has ruined me in the absolute best way. Originally a French novel, I listened to the English translated version. Oh, by the way, the audiobook is 100% approved, and it tells of a novelist who researches a mysterious murder in a hotel he's staying at. But the more questions he asks, the larger and thicker the plot grows. This story has so many layers and wonderful depth. If you love Agatha Christie, theatrical revelations, profound philosophical questions, political espionage thrillers, European vibes, you will absolutely love this novel. This one too probably makes it to my favorite modern book of the year so far. It's so good. Please, please, please buy the book. I think the Kindle version is literally $1 or $2. Sorry, $2 or $3 right now on Amazon. And so if money is an issue, this has got to be the cheapest book I'm recommending right now. So, in other words, please, by all means, go ahead and get it because it is wonderful. It is a slower book. It's not a fast-paced thriller, but I think it's absolutely worth it. So good. So many quotable portions in this book. So I highly recommend it. And I love books with quotes. I don't know if you guys do, but they're one of my favorite things. The Luminous Life of Lucy Landry was another book that I read, and I think I mentioned this one before. This is by one of my absolute favorite, most beloved authors, and someone who has also become such a sweet friend. And she recently released a book called The Luminous Life of Lucy Landry. And I got the immense privilege of reading the ARC novel as well as listening to the audiobook, which recently released on Hoopla. And before I say anything else, isn't that title absolutely delightful? It's so sweet and describes this wonderful book so well. I think I talked about this book in the previous episode, but I recently finished the audiobook as well as the book, and as always, Elise Randall Modica does a wondrous job of bringing this already imaginative and glorious little book even more vividly alive, truly. Lucy reminds me a lot of myself, honestly. She's a daydreamer and imaginative, a born storyteller with a flair for drama. It's such a sweet story set mostly on an island where a lighthouse keeper and his family live, who adopt Lucy into their rambunctious, adventurous family. It's both tender and whimsical in the best of ways. And if you love Pollyanna, Anne of Green Gables, and Little Women, you will absolutely revel in this novel. Do you love browsing the lovely books at indie bookstores? I do too. They're so lovingly curated and decorated. It makes you want to curl up and read the whole afternoon. The one downside about indie bookstores is that it can sometimes be difficult to drive over and look for the book you want, especially when they don't have that particular book in stock. But friends, I have really exciting news. I've partnered with bookshop.org to curate a 2024 must-read guide just for you. I'm so thrilled and grateful to be working with them because each book you buy goes to support a local indie bookstore near you. And to make this even easier, I've created a list of all the books I recommended here that's available now on their website. This includes reader tags and even cleanness notes that I've added to help you find the book that is just right for you. Head over to the link in the show notes below to get a glorious new book now and support a local indie bookstore and this podcast. Hey friend, would you just take a moment to review this podcast? This helps other amazing listeners find this podcast. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and thanks so much for tuning in. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show. Yet another book that I have been reading recently that I 100% recommend, it's so good, is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry. And this is another spectacular book. It is beautiful and raw and emotive in the very best of ways. And I think this is every book lover's friend in book form, truly. It's a book I will return to over and over again. In this story, a failing bookseller and widower named AJ is giving up on life after a series of tragedies when a mysterious package arrives, giving him the chance to start his life over and see things anew. It's a story about brokenness and healing, books and beginnings, empathy and endings, words and wisdom. Interjected are AJ's wry yet observant notes on his favorite stories. It's like having a bookseller a reach away, or a writing coach or teacher a reach away, stowed within a bookshelf. It's an absolute delight, and I'm so grateful I was able to read it. I have so many others, but I'll keep them to share on another episode. And as always, if you'd like to get these books, you can find them listed on my bookshop, which is linked below in the description. By the way, I did just want to let you guys know that there is some language in A.J. Fikry, as well as in The Enigma of Room 622. In both of these books, there is some language. I believe in A.J. Fikry, there's maybe 1 or 2 scenes that you'd need to skip. If you'd like to get more info on the cleanness, I highly recommend going to ratedreads.com. I think that's what it's called. ratedreads.com to get the reviews, and they do some really wonderful reviews. My sister and I love to go there for cleanness reviews and just to be able to kind of get a feel for what we're reading before we go and read. But if you would like to get my thoughts on the books in particular, or if you'd like to just ask, by all means, go ahead and DM me on Instagram or email me at shirajrodriguez@gmail.com. and I'll be more than happy to give my thoughts on the books and the cleanness and all that stuff. And now, what I know that you've all been waiting for, as promised, I'll now be giving a sneak peek of season 3. Oh my goodness, I have been so excited for this season for so long. I know there were several people that I wanted to invite, but I honestly needed time to coordinate things. So now I am so thrilled to actually be able to talk about this and share all of the lovely things that I have been able to plan for the last few months, honestly. So first off, if you recall, in my last season, I had 3 lovely ladies come onto my podcast and talk about what readers actually want to read in today's books. And you can find that link in the description below. Well, in this season, we're going to have 2 groups. I was so excited to invite these 2 groups of amazing writers, the first of whom were all writers in the Author Conservatory's Voice of the Future anthology, which you may have heard me mentioning in season 2. At the time of the recording, I actually didn't know this, but one of my guests actually won the Realm Makers Aurora Award for her short story, which is absolutely wild. You don't want to miss this as we discuss all things short story, the writing process, and anthology. I was also so blessed to be able to have 3 incredible male writers on the podcast for the first time. It was incredible. I had an absolute blast as we discussed how to write realistic yet strong and virtuous male characters, but believe it or not, we actually veered into also how to write strong female characters and creating realistic and authentic male and female relationships, platonic and otherwise. And I'm so excited to release this as well. I've also invited an incredible and lovely writer and editor friend, one of my favorite people, and she's so talented. I love her so much, to come onto the podcast and talk about how to prep your novel before you bring it to your editor, which nobody talks about for some strange reason. And I'm honestly so excited to release this as well, because I think it's so needed and nobody really talks about prepping your novel before bringing it to an editor, and it's so essential. But she'll also talk about how to pursue your own career in editing if that's something that you've been interested in. I also had my amazing sister on the podcast for my first game-esque episode where we guessed the first lines of novels that she picked out for me. Believe me, you can learn so much about writing by just studying the first lines of novels. And you will absolutely love this, and I hope you have half as much fun as we did while we were planning this and actually doing this. And also, if you're curious about how to write Christian fiction that isn't cheesy, fiction that is poignant and reflects the beauty of the gospel, I've also invited a dear friend who writes Christian fiction, and actually I'm so lucky because she lives near me, to come onto the podcast and talk about how to write in step with the Holy Spirit. It's a beautiful episode. Again, you won't want to miss this. I am so excited to release all these episodes. And as if that's not enough, I also have another guest who actually felt God calling him to pursue writing, even though he wasn't actually much of a reader as a child. It's an incredible story, and I can't wait for you to hear it. I have so many more episodes that I wish I could tell you about, with topics ranging from finding your people with some of my best friends to writing creative nonfiction. But for now, I'll have to leave you on a cliffhanger for next week's episode. Friends, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I can't tell you how much my heart overflows to be able to be back here sharing words and stories with you. If you'd like to connect, please don't hesitate. I absolutely love hearing from you. Every comment and note and email truly fills me up so much, and you are all so precious to me. So friends, until next time, continue to live, give, and repeat, and I'll see you next week. Yay! You did it! I'm giving you a lovely big virtual hug because you just finished another episode of Her Reading Life podcast. If you'd like to access all the wonderful links I mentioned in this episode, visit my website at bio.site/Shira J. Rodriguez. That's bio.site/Shira J. Rodriguez. There you can access my blog posts, resources, and so much more. Also, check out my Instagram page for more inspirational content, and join my email list for insider secrets and exclusive updates on special events. The links are in the description box below. Also, if you could take a minute and leave a review for this podcast, that would be amazing. We're able to reach so many more people because of your reviews and ratings. I can't wait to chat with you next time, friends. Keep living, giving, and repeating.